ECCYC is a free channel, presents the Word of God for everyone. Your support will help us to continue the mission. Visit our website, ECCYCnow.com. Even $1 will make a difference.
Most human beings, almost all human beings, okay, were born with a very complicated, complex, amazing, magnificent organ in their body. It's very, very, very complex, very small, and it's the human eye. And if you understand how the human eye works, okay, who knows how the human eye works? How does it work? Okay, I'll explain. You guys don't know, let's be honest, you don't know. Let's be honest. He's like, I agree. The way your eye works is that your eye receives light, okay, from the front, and in the back you have an optical nerve working with your brain that basically assembles the picture, okay, that you are looking at, and it tells your brain this is what you're seeing. So you are receiving light, and there's nerves and cones and all kinds of stuff in the back of your head that is interpreting what it is the light that is coming into your eyes is seeing, and it tells your brain, hey, this is what you're seeing. For example, right now, if your eyes aren't deceiving you, you should be looking at a very tall, strong, dark, handsome priest, okay? And if you're seeing anything else, you're deceived. And you have to understand that it would be a very shameful thing if you were looking at things and your brain was interpreting things completely wrong. That light is pouring into your eyes and your brain is saying that you're seeing something completely opposite. When you were baptized, you were given a second pair of eyes, right? You have physical eyes, and when you were baptized, you were given eyes to your heart, that your heart would have senses. Your heart would hear the voice of God, that you would be able to see, that you would be able to know God through the senses of your heart. I'll tell you a story. When I was living in Kenya for some time, we would go into the marketplace and we would bring doctors and medicine. And if you guys know anything about Africa, right? Africa is plagued with the HIV virus, and there are very outrageous high percentages of people infected with HIV. And there would be certain villages where it could be close to 40 or 50% of the population, okay? I want you to understand what that means, that 40 or 50% of the population is infected with HIV/AIDS, okay? So we would go into the marketplace, and we would bring our doctors, and we would bring medicine from America. The market would have tens of thousands of people, right? We'd go into the market, and we'd bring our microphones, trying to gather the people in Africa in order to serve them, give them the Word of God, and treat them. So we would invite people, come inside. We have free medicine from America. There are these ARV medicines, which basically could extend your life. We have a program in our Coptic mission in Africa that could extend your life from 5 years to 25 years. So back in the days, when somebody heard they had HIV, within 5 years you could die. But this new medicine would extend your life an extra 30 years. So we were out in the marketplace inviting all the people with our microphones, and no one is coming. I'm going crazy. I'm like, we have professional doctors giving free medical care with free medicine to prolong the lives of thousands of people. I want you to put yourself in this situation. You're in Africa. You have no money. You have no hope of health care. Many members of your family are infected with HIV. And here we are, we're inviting everyone to come and to join the program and to be treated for free for HIV. No one is coming. We have microphones, we have the choir, we're trying to attract people, no one is coming. So we pause and we hear another microphone about 75, 100 yards away. So a couple of us in the group, we go over there to see what's going on. And there is a huge circle of hundreds of people and another guy on a microphone with the voice of something similar to Emperor Zurg in Toy Story 2, okay? You hear his voice, you're like, is this the voice of Satan himself? It was the most scary voice I'd ever heard in my life, okay? It was like listening to Darth Vader in front of me. I walk in there, and what he's doing is, he's a witch doctor, okay? He's a witch doctor. and he's selling people herbal medicines that they've done magic over, right? They've done their tribal prayers over, and they've done these magic prayers over this herbal medicine, and they're telling them that this medicine is going to cure them of malaria and HIV and typhoid and all these terrible diseases. And the people are listening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? This guy's deceiving them. So I go in the middle of the circle with my microphone. I tell my group, please pray for me, okay? And I'm telling the people, I don't know what this guy is telling you, but we have medicine over here. We're encouraging you to come and just see a doctor. People are looking at me like I was a blue hairy monster. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? And I'm telling them, guys, just go. It's free. It's free medicine. It's free healthcare. For the first time in my life, I realized people have eyes, but they can't see. Have you ever met somebody that is just completely blind? You're talking to them, ما فيش حاجة. There's no response. That's what I felt. What you guys are going to learn on this retreat, is what God wants you to know. That what your physical eyes aren't telling you, your spiritual eyes should be telling you. My fear is that for many people in the world, maybe many people here, even their spiritual eyes can't see. They're there, and your servants are like, hello, sabah al-khair, Abuna's talking, ma fish haga. And we discover that many of us, the eyes of our hearts can't see. What I want to describe to you is how the Bible describes the concept of the world. So the Bible always talks about the world, right? For God so loved the world. And we talk about, Jesus talks about the world in so many different ways. In order for you guys to understand this retreat, let me get everyone's attention. You have to understand what the Bible is talking about when it talks about the world. The first thing is the physical world, right? In Acts chapter 17, verse 2, it says, God who made the world and everything in it. He's talking about the physical world that God created in the beginning of time. And the second thing is the inhabitants or the people of the world. But not just anybody living inside the world. Whenever the Bible is talking about the people of the world, it's talking about the people that are in the world that are hostile or against the cause or the purpose of God. When your people said, when your parents tell you that we're not like the world, or we're not like the people of the world. The people of the world are the people that have become hostile or against, the cause of God. And I think we're surrounded by them all over the place, right? You guys have these people in your schools, you have these people in your neighborhoods, you have these people sometimes even in your churches, right? They are completely hostile and against the cause of God. These are the inhabitants or the people of the world. The third thing is our worldly affairs. The Bible says, do not love the world or the things in the world. What are those? Worldly pleasures, riches, things that are very worldly, materialistic things. And so when we talk about the world in the Bible, we're talking about three things. The physical world, We're talking about the people of the world that are against God's purposes. And the third thing is the things of the world, worldly pleasures, worldly affairs, worldly things, I think you guys are all with me. So knowing the definitions of what the world means in the Bible, when you tie them together, you realize there's kind of a system to them, right? Worldly affairs are practiced by people of the world, living in the world, attached to the world. And the Bible tells us that we are not of the world, right? The Bible tells us we are not of the world. And so when you look actually at the world, I need everyone's attention because this is the most important part of the whole retreat, is that you realize there is like a system to the world, right? Servants, if we have snipers that can look for people that are falling asleep and just maybe shoot them or bonk them or something, or taser gun, anything? Who does the Bible say is the prince of this world? Or the ruler of this world? Who? You said it. The devil. And so, if we're talking about the world as a system, and there is a ruler behind the system, that's a very scary thing. It's a very scary thing to think that there is a very spiritual world order governed behind the scenes by Satan. Nothing is by chance. The things that you fall into sin in every day, they're not just by chance. There is a plan, and there is an order, and there is a system governed by the ruler of this world, or the prince of this world, and he has many goals for this system. Anybody in here can say, okay, fine, I want to leave the world, right? We can't leave the world. But what we're going to try to understand is how to approach the world. All right, guys, this is not an idea. This is very, very important. 1 John chapter 5, verse 19 says, we know that we are of God, and the whole world lies under the sway of the wicked one. What's the key word in this? What's the key word? Sway. Sway, yes, but whole world. Is it some of the world? Is it kind of like figure of speech world? Whole world. The whole world is under the sway of who? That's very scary. That's very scary to think that the whole world lies under the sway of the wicked one. There is a world order governed by the prince of this world, who Christ calls the prince of this world or the ruler of this world, and that's the devil. Now this is very, very important for us to understand what it means. This morning I want to reveal to you the unseen power behind the things of this world. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17-19 says, everyone look. This I say therefore and testify in the Lord, that you should no longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles walk. The Gentiles were the people of the world, okay? In the futility of their mind, having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart. He's saying, I don't want you to be like these people. I don't want you to have darkened minds. I don't want you to have blindness in your heart, to have ignorance to such a point to not realize that you are walking in the middle of this system that the devil has arranged for what? Your destruction. For your destruction. Do you understand how serious this is? That there is a mind behind everything that you are going through in the world. That every time you turn on your computer and a pop-up shows up, is there a mind behind that? Or is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? There's a mind and there is a plan behind everything that you, my brothers, are going through, and myself. So what are the things that make up the world? What are the things that make up the world? What does the world tell us is like beauty for a girl, right? What does the world tell you when you walk through a mall? What does the world tell you is beauty? Right? It's a 75-pound, 21-year-old girl, okay, who is dressed naked, who is blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever. If I tell you blonde hair, blue eyes, what comes to your mind? Let's keep it G. Let's keep it G-rated. When I say blonde hair, blue eyes, you're thinking attractive, right? You're thinking, shh, let me get everyone's attention. When I say blonde hair, blue eyes, the world has told you it could be an elephant with blonde hair and blue eyes, but to us, if we hear blonde hair, blue eyes, it means beauty. It means beauty. Fashion. The things that, let me get everyone's attention, the things that make up the world are fashion, science, politics, art, commerce or business, music. Listen to this one. Education. You're like, Abuna, come on. That's like saying the devil is running education. Anybody know what the plan was in the last year of who was going to be in charge of education in Egypt? Do you know who was supposed to be in charge of the educational branch of Egypt? The wonderful Salafi Muslims, okay? They were going to be raising generations of our young little Egyptian boys and girls, okay? And they were going to be in charge of education. Can you imagine what was going to happen to the next generations of Egypt? The Salafi Muslims were now in charge of education. I'll give you an example. What direction do you find the progress of these things going? Think about media. Facebook. Anybody in here not have Facebook? Liars. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Good for you. I'm joking. Good for you. To think that in one room we have like 6 people, and there's probably 150 people here. 6 people don't have Facebook. And I want you to think about, so the CEO of Facebook, he made a comment, he made a statement. He said, what I hope is to expose the privacy of every person on Facebook. To get rid of this whole concept of privacy. And little by little, you always have people's statuses saying what? The new update of Facebook is going to infringe on your pictures and send them out, and they have the rights to send them. Right, you get these statuses all the time. There's a mind behind the system to expose your privacy. I'll give you an example. There was a person that I had met that had visited the US. He was in Egypt, and this was like years ago when Facebook first came out. And he was a married man. He's looking at Facebook. He's looking at the pictures. He's got some girls he's a married man. He's got some girls that are friends. He sees some inappropriate pictures, decides to make some inappropriate comments. Okay? Thinking, it's just between me and the picture. Everybody's newsfeed says, so-and-so commented on so-and-so's picture, and it said, back then it used to give more details. Okay? You could imagine that a married man who is doing a small thing, it's harmless, right? It's a little flirting. What's the big deal? It's harmless. There's no big deal. What do you think it did to his life? His wife saw it. His kids saw it. And the devil, is like, what's the big deal? Have a little fun. It's just a little flirting here and there, right? There is a mind behind the system. Anybody here grow up in the 80s? Anybody here grow up in the 80s? Servants? Okay. Back when I used to come home from school and I turn on the TV, we used to watch a nice, wholesome show called The Cosby Show. You guys don't even know what The Cosby Show is, do you? You don't even know what it is. Okay. There's still reruns. Long live The Cosby Show. So, The Cosby Show. The Cosby Show is a very wholesome American family with some values and some morals. Now kids, when they come home from school and they turn on TV, what do they get to watch? Jersey Shore, right? Teen and Pregnant. Desperate Housewives. Listen, let me get everyone's attention. Hey guys, we think it's funny. There's a mind behind the system. There's a mind behind it. To get every 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, girl coming home from school, no longer watching The Cosby Show, watching Desperate Housewives, what do you think he's doing to the minds of young people? And now what do we say? We laugh, right? We say, somebody said like teen and pregnant. We laughed, and oh yeah, that's funny. Who would think that 150 God-fearing children, sons of God, coming to a spiritual retreat would say, yeah, funny, teen and pregnant? It's not funny. No, the example is right, but I'm saying we laugh about these things. We laugh about these things. There's a mind behind the system. Politics. You don't need to get into politics. Have you guys ever gone to a restaurant, seen a full family of people around a nice, restaurant table, and all 4 of them are on their phones playing with their gadgets and their Facebook? It's every family. It's not just your family. You go in, you will be blown away to see how disconnected the American family is now. Because every member, 5-year-olds now tell me, Abuna, they confess, Abuna, my mom told me I can't have an iPhone. Your mom told you can't have what? Like, I just got an iPhone like 2 years. Like, what do you mean you can't? You're 5. Everybody. Xbox. It's frying your brains, kids. I see you in Sunday school. Right? I pray for swarms and plagues of flies to enter into your mouths when I see you guys like this for hours. It's frying our brains. Because now, kids these days, they don't know how to be creative. They don't know how to... I just need to sit in front of video games. I just need to do this. I'm going to keep giving you some examples. I took a group of junior high kids to the monastery a year ago, and I was talking to them, and I was saying, all right, guys, you guys all say the Pledge of Allegiance, and like everybody raised their hand except for like 5 or 6 kids. I'm like, kids, pay attention. Everybody say the Pledge of Allegiance, and the kid's like, no, we heard you, Abuna. We don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. I said, what? They said, no, we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm like, do you go to school here in America? They say, yeah. They say, we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag in America. Why? Because it says what? If I would have told anybody in this room 10 years ago, people are not going to be saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag because it says under God, what would you say? If I would have told you that there are 5 or 6 or 7, I don't know how many states there are now that are pro-gay marriage, 7, 8 years ago in America, what would you say? It's going to happen or no? Heck no. There's no way that would happen in our country. You know what some high school kids were telling me the other day? They have boys that go to school in dresses and heels, and the kids, so back in my day that wouldn't have been safe for that boy, okay? Now the kids are saying, good for you. Speak up. Express yourself. It's funny. It's funny. Shh. But listen, let me get everyone's attention. That's the current, right? Let me get everyone's attention. That's the current. That's the current of our society. Now we have states on the west coast, Colorado, that are saying what? Marijuana is now because for medical use? Recreational. Let's have a good time, kids. Ya nahar iswed. Hey there. Guys, this is a big deal. Because you're laughing now. Wait till you dress up your cute little kid in his school uniform and every kid is smoking pot. Okay? And your kid is going to say, like, what's wrong with you, Dad? Like, everyone does it. And it's legal. And it's okay. Pornography. Come on, we all know. We all know. We all know. You know what? It's the saddest thing in the world. I'll be honest with you. When I was in junior high or high school, if a kid wanted to go and see something inappropriate, you know what they'd have to do? Go to a bookstore in the mall, go to the top shelf of a very silver plastic covered magazine, right? They'd have to take off the magazine in front of the whole store. They would have to bring the magazine, put it on the shelf, and pay for it to the lady and say, okay, I'd like one of these magazines. Like, there was lots of barriers for someone to have to look at something inappropriate 15 years ago. Now, before you turn on your computer, you're getting pop-ups. It's not a joke. Can we fast and pray one day and say, maybe the internet will just go away? It's slavery. It's widespread slavery. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. You guys know the statistics. You know, you talk to your friends. You guys all joke about it. You know what it is. We laugh about it. What used to be a crisis 5 years ago is now a mistake, right? What used to be somebody did the worst thing in their life, now it's, Abu and I made a mistake. I fell. What did you do? Mistake? This is a mistake? This is a crisis. It's a crisis, boys. But who is shaping our minds to tolerate? It's the world. You are sucked in the world. So when I dress up my kids in the morning, I dress them, they're cute little boys, okay? I put them in their nice little uniforms, and I said, Yalla Habibi, go into the world. Go into the lion's den and enjoy your day for 9 hours. It's a very scary thing. To think that I'm sending my kids into the world, and who's behind it all? It's no joke. Pornography will not go away. Every home will have it behind their doors. That's a very scary thing, boys. It's addiction. 2, 3, 4 times, that's it. You're hooked. Abuna, I hate it. Then why do you do it? I can't control myself, Abuna. I hate it. Who's behind that? This is not a joke, brothers. It's not a joke. There is a mind behind the system. We have to understand who's behind the system. So every day when you get dressed up and you exit your house and you go into the world, you know who's behind it. I don't know how many kids come to me and say, Abuna, you know, I took a philosophy class and my faith is shaken. What's wrong? Abuna, I don't know if I believe in God anymore. What happened to you, kid? You were a good boy. You used to dress as a deacon and come to say, what's wrong with you? Abuna, there's just some things that I don't know if I believe God is there. That's education. That's our educational system. Who's behind that? I'm not saying you don't get an education, but I'm saying is when you go to get your education, know who is behind the system. Know who's the mind behind the system that is trying to brainwash you. Satan is using the things of the world to lead everything to the kingdom of the Antichrist. Okay? Satan is using the things of the world to lead everything to the kingdom of the Antichrist. 1 John chapter 4 verse 3 says, and every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the what? So the people that don't confess that Jesus Christ is the Son of God is the Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. Next verse, 2 Thessalonians 2, 9-10. The coming of the lawless one, the Antichrist, is according to the working of Satan with all powers, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. So the devil is creating this system, bringing more and more and more and more people, and he's going to submit it to the Antichrist. And the Antichrist will do miracles, and people will follow, and people will say, this is the one that we need to save us from all this headache. It's not going to be Jesus, my brothers. It's not going to be Jesus. Okay? It's not going to be Jesus. The devil is behind all this to submit all this to the Antichrist. It's going to get to the point in this world, and is now almost there, where every unit of the world is going to become anti-Christian, even churches. We have churches that are tolerating very unbiblical things. We have churches in our society that are very pro-encouraging things that are very unbiblical. One of them is gay marriage. We have churches that are following the system. You know, we have like a church database program that it's kind of complex. So we went to go attend a training at it's this huge like mega church, Protestant church. We went to go attend the training. And so they obviously saw me and the other priests and they said, you know, you guys have it all right. I said, why do you say that? He said, our young people, right, they have like music in their worship services. It's just like the world. They made the music just like the world, and we're trying to mimic the world. We're never going to keep up with the world. And for the first time I began to say, wow, this person, who's like a pastor at this church, is saying, what are we doing in our churches is that we're teaching our kids to be like the world. And we're bringing the spirit of the world in the church. It's a very dangerous thing. How do I identify the world in my life? It can be anything that distracts you from God or causes you to put the things of God on the back burner of your life. Do you understand? Anything that causes you to put God second. Kids, let's be honest. When any servant comes to give a talk or priest, he stands up and says, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, what do? Off button. Till Abuna says, glory be to God forever, amen. On button. Right? We shut out because we don't want to hear. Not because we're ADD. We can't hear. We have so much guilt. We have so much shame that we're dealing with every day that even when it comes to spiritual things, we can't do it. So what part of the world is calling you today? What part of the world is pulling on you today? Is it fame? Is it popularity? Is it the party lifestyle? Is it money? Is it technology? Is it materialism? What is the bait that the devil is giving you? It's flashing before you, and you are slowly pulling on it. Believe me, you're not going to deny God fully overnight. It's going to happen one hair of denial at a time. It's this much. Just a little bit. Just a little look. A little glance. It's one TV show. It's 2 TV shows. It's half an hour video games. It's whatever level of maturity levels of video games. And then we start increasing. And now, kids tell me, but Abuna, I'm old enough to watch these movies. I'm not old enough to watch these movies. I'm not old enough to watch an R-rated movie. Because I'm a Christian. Because I'm a believer of God. Because I'm a servant of God. Who says that I'm mature enough to watch this? To look into the face of the tricks of Satan and say, give me more, I can handle it. Anyone strong enough? Anyone here brave enough to tell me I'm strong enough? I see it and it doesn't bother me? Think about, I always tell young kids this. All your senses have a direct slide down to your heart. Anything that goes in your ears will slide down to your heart. You ever find yourself singing something in the shower and you're like, where the heck did this come from? Right? Because you just listen to the music. The bad words, the bad language, the impure stuff that we hear all the time. The devil is planting seeds in the heart. Just a seed. What happens to the seed later on? It grows. And then what do? We come to confession, so we cut the sin at the surface. My brothers, you have a root inside of your heart. Your heart is like a soil that has deep roots of sins that maybe you've been struggling with for 6, 7, 8, 10 years. It's rooted in there. It's not like, I'm going to confess and it's going to go away. No. We're going to talk about how to get rid of those bad seeds. All right. 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 to 16 says, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. You hear that? If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. I want to read to you guys a saying that I read from like a pastor wrote this. He said this, our interests are in ourselves. We are preoccupied with material things. Our supreme God is technology. Anyone disagree? Our supreme God in this age is technology. Our goddess is sex. Most of us are more interested in getting to the moon than getting to heaven. We are more dedicated to material security than to inward purity. We give much more thought to what we wear, what we eat, what we drink, and what we can do than what we are as sons of God. He has it right. He's got it right. That's the best description of where our world is leading us. Are you aware of the world? Are you aware of how all the things I'm talking about, of how it's tricking us, how it's getting to us? Got to a point where St. Paul's disciples who were serving with him, 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 10 says, Demas, because he loved this world, has deserted me and has gone to another place. If Demas, who was the disciple of St. Paul, loved the world and fell away, how much more at risk are we? We're at risk. Open up your eyes, boys. Open up your eyes. This is serious. I'm going to talk about what it means. St. James says, do you not know that friendship with the world is what? Enmity with God. Woo. What does enmity mean? What does enmity mean? SAT word? Huh? Enmity. What is the root word? Yeah. Enmity. Enemy. Friendship with the world is what? Enmity with God. Friendship with the world? We're not talking about marriage with the world. Friendship with it. Toying with it. Playing with it is what? Enmity with God. All right. Key word. Verse 16. Verse 16, what's the key word? All. All that is in the world is not of the Father, but is of the world. 1 John 2:16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And these are ways the devil draws us to love the world. So these are the 3 ways. The first one is the lust of the flesh. Anybody not know what the lust of the flesh is? We're all pretty up to par on what the lust of the flesh is? You know, the Bible talks about the lusts of the spirit and the lusts of the flesh. If I told you to list me 10 lusts of the flesh, would you have a problem? We know them, right? We know the lusts of our flesh. You don't know? Antum معايا? صباح الخير? Huh? We know them, right? How about the lusts of your spirit? Do we know them? Every time I ask that question, what are the lusts of your spirit? صدقني يا ابونا ما أعرف. Imagine, we as the people of God don't know what the spirit inside of us is longing for, but I know very well what my flesh is longing for. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, the mind, eye represents your mind. The word eye means your mind. Your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? That's the lust of the flesh. Lust of the eyes. You have made us, St. Augustine says, you have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. You know what that's saying? All of you have a God-shaped hole in your heart. The only thing that can quench or fill that hole, the desire of that heart, is God, because it's God-shaped. Right? You could put cars, popularity, friends, lust, sex, whatever, money, all these things, never going to fill your heart. You'll never be satisfied. Our heart is restless until it rests in you. But what do we fix our eyes? What are the lusts of our eyes? Oh, I wish I had one of those. Give me one of them gadgets. And I desire this. And the girls with the Coach purses and like, what is that? Right? All these things, the lusts of our eyes, it's of the world. Last thing, we're going to end right here. The pride of life. What is the pride of life? What did the serpent tell Eve? He said, if you eat of this fruit, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. What's the pride of life? Is that Eve said, I'm God. I want to be God. I make the choices of what is appropriate, what's inappropriate. I can tell you what is it that will make me sin and what will not make me sin. I am God. That's what Eve's problem was. You will be like God. That sounds like a great idea. And so she ate of the fruit. She was nothing like God. She became nothing like God. Today's talk is to open up your eyes to the system. To know that there is a mind behind the system of the world that you and I are living in. Am I saying don't be in the world? I'm saying no, but be cautious. If I told you that you're walking through a place that has booby traps everywhere, what are you going to do? You're going to be cautious. If I told you you're driving down a very ghetto alley that is very scary, okay, and you know that my car could break down right now, I'm out of gas, it's a very bad area, what's the first thing you do? Pray, okay. Lock the doors. How many of them? 4 of them. What happens if you lock 3? You're at risk. We need to lock the doors of our senses. We need to be careful to understand how the devil is trying to creep into our lives. I pray that we would understand the tone of this retreat is to understand that we cannot be of the world. We're different. Glory be to God forever. Amen.